welcome back to the 12th and final segment in this series, Painting in Tandem. Today, we're going to unveil what we've done, the finished products. Are you excited?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And here's mine. So I was, just having a little bit of fun with mine. And when you're making a painting, when I make a painting, there are times in the process where I'll just kind of make something up or do something random just because. And in this case, it was the green cloak. It occurred to me, thinking about what colors to make things, and I realized I don't think I've ever seen Jesus in a green cloak. See, lots of red, lots of white, sometimes black, and some blue with some regularity, but never green that I've ever seen. And I thought, why not? It's just another color. But then I also, once I said, okay, I'm going to make it green, I started remembering certain verses in the New Testament. He refers to himself as the true vine and the living tree or something like that. And so there is some scriptural justification, perhaps. But mostly it was just a random choice on my part. It's like, I've never seen that before, let's do that. So.
Looks really good.
Anything in particular about it that you like?
I love his mouth.
Yeah.
It's very smooth. It looks very much like a real mouth, so I really like that. Well, I like all of it. I liked it since I've seen you working on it. From the beginning, I thought it looked really good. I love the eye color. It's very piercing, I think, and it makes you it really draws your eye to it, which I really like. I like all of it. I like the color. I do like the color. I loved your explanation of why you chose green. I thought it was a really cool thing that I hadn't ever thought about, and it made me curious as to why not more people used a green cloak or something with green on it, but I really loved it. I love the highlights and the shadows.
I did get a lot more, shall we say, decisive with the contrast. And that was something that was interesting to me watching you work. That seemed to be something you struggled with. Is that true? Is that how you felt about it?
Yeah, I had a hard time actually putting bright white or really dark colors because I was worried it would mess it up, or I wouldn't do it quite right.
The only way to get better is to be okay with doing it wrong until you do it right. I've done this a few more times than you have, and so I've developed enough confidence to go for it like that, and that's fine. And you know what? There's every possibility that somebody will look at mine and say I went overboard, and look at yours and say you got it just right. So that's a reality too, because there's nothing wrong with the contrast in yours. It's just not quite as dramatic as mine. That doesn't make it wrong. It just. But I did find it interesting watching you work with that, because it was like a tug of war. I was watching a tug of war happening in front of me. You'd put on some highlights or add some shadow, and then you'd walk it back like 70%. And then you'd go through it again, and it was just like 3, 4, 5 times of this make a frighteningly bold move forward and then walk it back. And then make another frighteningly bold move forward and then walk it back. And so you made these tiny baby steps towards more round and dramatic contrast. But I didn't say anything because it was just, this was about discovery and seeing what your instincts were going to be, your instinctive choices. And I was watching this thinking, this is interesting. This is not a materials problem. This is something going on in her head where there's a conversation happening. You're going, oh, do this. Oh, it's too much. Oh, but you need more. So do. Oh, but it's still, and that was going on. Your inner dialogue was evident. Um, so there was a conversation that I heard about that's very interesting. Somebody said somebody who's seen both of our paintings. They said Amanda's painting looks like her, and Cameron's painting looks like him. Is that right?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
I thought it was interesting because I don't think I typically do it, where I put myself kind of in what I'm painting. But I think for the Savior it kind of fit, just because we all kind of see the Savior through a lens of me.
Mm-hmm.
We like put certain traits in him that we relate to, or that we feel comfortable with, because he's supposed to be someone that you feel very loved by and comforted by. And so I think subconsciously we all kind of put ourselves a little bit in him, just so that we're more comfortable. And I thought it was very fitting, kind of, that in a portrait we do the same thing.
Yeah, I've heard it said that a portrait painter only ever paints themselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think it goes back to the me filter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot like what you're doing as an actor. You're taking information from a script and it passes through your me filter. You're interpreting it, you're internalizing it, projecting, you're doing all these things to try to create this idea and act it out. And so, but it was an interesting conversation because, well, you clearly don't have a beard. And, you know, when you go down into the architecture and the details, I don't look like I have a beard, but I don't look like that.
Yeah.
And yet there's something of me in this. Same with yours. You clearly don't have a beard. You know, the architecture and details of the face is clearly not a portrait of you physically, but there is something of you in it. And so I wasn't surprised by that, but it was interesting to me to hear the conviction with which it was said.
Yeah.
Because like Cameron painted himself, Amanda painted herself, and part of me is like, no, we didn't. Analyze the details. No, we didn't. Yes, and yet, yes, we did.
Yeah. The one I heard when I was told this was mainly in the nose. And I can kind of see it. Obviously, you have a different nose, and I think I have a different nose. But I think the structural, like, part of the nose is, with yours, is a bit softer. And I think mine is a little more, like, a little harder, like a sharper, a little. Well, I don't know how to describe it, but I think my nose looks more like that nose. And I think your nose looks more like this nose. Whereas...
Interesting.
A little bit. I don't know. That's just what I thought when I heard them say, oh.
You immediately thought of noses.
I thought of the nose.
Okay. That's interesting. Because, you know, I have some particular ideas about noses that I tend to repeat, or details that I kind of zoom in on. And yet I'm also trying to stay faithful to the source material, like, you know, when a portrait of Washington, or, you know, somebody that or Abraham Lincoln, where we actually have photographs. It's like, I'm trying to be faithful to the details of his nose. And yet there are details about noses, for instance, that I just gravitate towards, like, make sure to make that bit clear, I guess. And so maybe in some ways that's my part of my me filter. And it's not only, you know, trying to capture the details of the source material and create the illusion of that nose, it's also an expression of some of my ideas about noses. Maybe you were doing the same thing.
Yeah. Something I loved about yours that I had a really hard time emulating in mine, because I didn't know how, I think, was the forehead. I loved all the very intricate subtleties between, like, the different, like,
little
planes
planes.
on it.
Yeah.
And then as well as the neck. I like that warm center right here, and then like the more cool or darker subtleties around it. I liked that effect a lot, and I tried to implement it, and it just didn't come through on either of them, so then forehead or the neck. And
okay, I love the result you got on your neck in the painting, and in some ways I like it better than mine. Yours is subtler. It's lovely and it's subtler. Foreheads are another thing, kind of like noses, that I like. Make sure to get all those bits and details clarified, and sometimes that's not the right thing to do, but sometimes it is, and sometimes it's just part of like what fascinates me about the structure of a human face. And so yeah, you know, there are, it's not a flat thing, and it's not a uniformly round thing, the human forehead. There are lots of little subtle plane changes and structural things, and bits of muscle, and then bits where the bone is just under the skin, and it's a lot of going on in those landscapes. And I get really excited about it and interested by it. So that's interesting to hear.
You did a really good job like representing all of it and like showing all the various changes in it, and I just really liked that. I also loved your ears. I would look at your ears a lot and try to replicate it. Didn't turn out the way I wanted, but I liked a lot of your painting, and I think I tried to emulate it. It just probably should have asked more about the ones I wanted to emulate, but I thought maybe if I just try to like look at it and put it in my own, I can do that, but I didn't get it quite.
Well, you did okay with your ears. I was paying attention to the ears, the way your ears were turning out, and there were things that I thought about mentioning, and I just held back. I decided just let you make your own decisions, partly because at the end of it, this was not a painting about ears, and you kind of left them at a place where, whether you got them just the way you wanted them or not, they were still fading into the background. They were clearly ears. They were in the right place. Maybe the color could have been tweaked. Maybe some of the highlights and form could have been improved, but it wasn't a painting about ears. And so I was like, all right, they're kind of fading into the background. Let's just leave them there and not mention it, is part of why I didn't say anything. Because they weren't, you know, dramatically or grotesquely wrong or anything like that. Could they have been improved? Sure. Could mine be improved? Sure. You know, there are all sorts of details in mine that I can pick out and say, I like this and I don't quite like that. And that's one of the marvelous things about oil painting, and also a big trap. You can literally work on the same painting forever. But eventually you get the law of diminishing returns, and what you're going to learn and the rate at which you'll improve will be greater if you just call this one done and start another one, versus continuing to work on one until you think you've got it right. A great example, as I've heard it, Leonardo da Vinci never finished the Mona Lisa.
I didn't know that.
That was a portrait commission.
Oh.
He never delivered it.
Really?
He tinkered with that to the end of his life, carried it around with him during his travels. He never finished it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And oil painting can do that. It's a material that allows you to do that. And whatever he was after, he never quite got it. And yet everybody else looks at it and calls it one of the greatest masterpieces in art history.
Yeah.
So what was he not capturing? What was he after? We don't know. We'll never know. But it's a great example of how, you know, we can keep tinkering on these things, or we can just move on and do another one.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the best thing we can do. I've never produced a painting that I was 100% happy with. I can always find something that I wish was slightly different. And that's partly me just running up against the current limitations of my ability. And maybe sometimes that's just a little bit of insecurity coming from my me filter. And really what happens with me when I call it finished is I'm balancing between how much do I hate that bit? How wrong does it feel? How capable do I feel of improving it? Do I have a clear vision of how to improve it? Do I know exactly what to do to fix it? Versus the risk of ruining something that is working by obsessing over this little detail.
Mm.
Do I really know how to fix it? And does it really bother me that much? Or is it really a problem? That's the conversation I'm having towards the end. And when the answers are no, I still don't love it, but the risk of screwing it all up by obsessing about that are greater than the trouble it gives me to keep looking at that and going, oh, this makes me cringe a little bit, but it doesn't make me cringe enough to risk everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I find the stopping point. And then I just try to internalize that and improve on it in the next one. And that's really what's happening. So in a lot of ways, oil painting is an ongoing conversation. There's something really cool that happens, and maybe you'll experience it. We'll see in 6 months or a year. As time passes, I forget the experience of having made a painting or a sculpture. Now, I don't make anything that I don't want to have myself, right? Nearly all of my artwork is created from a place of, I want to live in a world where that thing exists, right? It all starts as something I want in my own personal collection. And then, over time, I'll sell it because there are people who are attracted to having those things and for the same reasons I'm attracted to them. And, I've made more stuff, and so I'm running out of room. But I forget the experience of having made it over time. And it's almost like finding it or encountering it again for the first time. And I know I've gotten it right, even with the things that bothered me before, perhaps. When a year or 2 or 5 years later, I run into a painting of mine and go, oh, wow, I like that. Who did that?
Who did that?
Who did that? I forget that it was me.
Wow.
Because I forgot the experience of making it.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like running into something and going, oh, wow, I like that. I'm glad that exists. And that may sound sappy and maybe even a little, I don't know what the word would be. But maybe part of it is the idea that artists are conduits. There's something from out there entering the world through us. Mm-hmm. We are the technicians that execute the thing, but are we the originators of the idea? Mm-hmm. Did the vision come to us, or did we fabricate the vision? Kind of philosophical questions, but it's just like, I mostly feel like I'm a conduit. Now, it's my responsibility to improve my ability as a conduit. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like the originator of these things. I'm just the vessel through which they enter the world. Mm. And so maybe there's something completely legitimate about, 5 years down the road, encountering something that I was the conduit for and going, oh, wow, that's really cool. I like that. Mm-hmm. And it's not just me being narcissistic and arrogant. It's just like,
I think that sounds very comforting because, even if I don't like it now, maybe 5 years down the road, I'll look at it and be like, wow, I actually really like that.
Yeah. Or this also happens 5 years down the road, you'll have made another 20 or 30 paintings, let's say, and you'll go back and look at this one that was sort of a starting point, and you'll say, wow, I'm a lot better now. And I'm glad I'm a lot better now, but you had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cringeworthy now to me, but it was the best I could do at the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's completely legitimate too. I mean, there are paintings that I've made, 15, 20, 25 years ago that I would be embarrassed if people knew that I made them. It's like, I don't want people to see that and know that. And yet, it was the best I could do at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it led to what I can do now. And so, there's no shame or dishonor in it. But with the way what I intended and my ability to execute it, looking back on that, I was like, oh, let's pretend that never happened. Mm-hmm. And so who knows how I'll feel about this in 10 years? Who knows what the limits of human potential are?
Yeah. Fun thing to think about.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
All right. Are you ready for the big reveal?
Yes. Should I open?
Do the honors. This is your painting.
All right.
Nice. I'm delighted with how it turned out. How do you feel about it?
I think overall I'm pretty happy.
I think you should be. Just for the record, I know I've mentioned it before, but this is the first time Amanda's made a portrait quite like this. It's the first time she's worked in oils, and she's mostly self-taught, and she's only just recently turned 18. So you put all that together, and it's just not fair that she's this good this early. But it's one of the reasons I wanted to work with you, because I wanted to get there early and start encouraging you. If you want to pursue this, you are way off the charts. Feels a bit like I'm Qui-Gon Jinn discovering Anakin as a little kid. It's just like the Force is super strong with this one. So, you made some different decisions in yours from mine. Mm. They're both painted from the same reference picture. And when we started this series, I imagined, and you could see the way the easels were set up, I imagined that we'd paint along together at the same time, and you'd be able to look over my shoulder and see what I'm doing and copy what I'm doing, and I'd drop little factoids along the way, and you'd go, oh, okay, and then you'd go do that. And that's not how it turned out. You mostly focused on your painting. You hardly spoke. You asked very few questions. You just translated the reference photo in the same way that I was translating the reference photo, except your painting went through your me filter and my painting went through my me filter. And the me filter is something I've said for years. We distill everything, our experiences, everything we've seen, heard, felt, everything we've felt about our experiences, and every new experience passes through that matrix of past experiences to arrive at how we interpret the new experience. And that's what I mean by the me filter. And so we started with this is the very same picture of a sculpture of Jesus Christ, but yours passed through your me filter and mine passed through my me filter, and it came out differently, even though the architecture and all the details are the same in the same place. Mm. So it's really interesting that way. Was there anything about this process that you enjoyed the most?
My favorite part was the cloak, the blue one.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked doing the highlights a lot, and I liked working with just one color the most, I think.
Okay.
One base color anyway.
Okay. And I mentioned this in a previous video, but it's interesting. The way you used the brushwork, the way you created the cloak, gave it a silky appearance or satiny appearance. How conscious were you of that effect as you were doing it?
Not at all.
Not at all. You're just doing what you did, and this is how it turned out.
I was trying to replicate a picture we have of Christ in our house. Like, I think it's one of the most popular place in the church, you know, the one with the red cloak.
Yes.
And yes, that one. And I really wanted to.
So you were thinking about that
Yes.
portrait by Del Parson. Okay.
And so I wanted it to look kind of like that, but it looks more satiny, I guess.
Yeah, part of it's the contrast,
Mm-hmm.
the brightness of the highlights with a lot more hard edges around them is what makes that silky appearance, because silk is a lot more shiny and reflective than other fabrics, and satin as well. What do you feel like was the most challenging bit of yours?
The eyes and the beard, I would say, or maybe the ears. The ears, I did not like working on. And I don't like them very much still, but
Okay,
the beard also was very hard for me to do.
interesting. The way you got the eyes is one of my favorite parts of yours.
Really?
Yes, because you, whether you knew it or not, whether you did it on purpose or not, you nailed something that is really subtle. You got smiling eyes. And what you see that a lot in actor portraits, the headshots that actors send around. When the eyes smile but the mouth doesn't, so you can keep a kind of neutral face, but the way you change your eyes, that's called smiling eyes. And you captured smiling eyes without giving him a big grin in the mouth. Subtle and beautiful and really engaging, especially for a painting of Christ. And so that's one of my favorite bits. They may have been hard for you to do, hard work and challenging, because eyes are challenging, but you nailed something that's really special there.
Thank you.
I was curious why you chose such a dark color for his tunic.
I think at the time I didn't think it was so dark. I wanted it more like a beige kind of.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you got that.
So I think I was trying to make it very brownish kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's just how it came out. I also wanted it more yellow, but I think I got it more grayish than yellow.
Well, it's a yellowy brown.
Yeah.
It's a yellowish, brownish gray. It's a beige that's leaning towards yellow.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't fail. May not have been quite as yellow as you meant to make it, or whatever. But yeah, it's there. It's subtle, but it's there. Another part that I really enjoy is your brushwork in the background. You've got this lovely transition of dark to light. It's like a nod to a halo without being a halo. But you loved your flat brushes, and they each brush shape leaves a particular mark, or a peculiar mark. And you got these lovely, distinct brush marks. That's not something I usually would, I don't do that myself. I get really compulsive about blending it in and hiding the brush marks. And you went and just did it and left it, and I looked at it and go, wow, I really kind of like that. I may not copy it, but I love what you did. It works for me in a really lovely way. Another thing you did that you were encouraged to do, but you handled it very, very well, was the conversation between the figure in the background, the atmosphere, the foreground, to where you have the subtlety of lost edges all over the place, but you also have your nice crispy found edges as well. And that usually takes a lot of time and practice and consciousness for artists to develop that ability. As I've said in a previous video, when we're starting out, we almost automatically put crispy edges and dark lines like a cartoon around everything. And, you know, this is this, and that is that, and never the twain shall touch. And we get a sense of real atmosphere when we lose some of those edges. And you've done that very, very nicely.
Had a great teacher.
Mostly you did your own thing and I talked at you and I guess some of it got through, but yeah, this didn't, I don't know how it felt to you, but this did not feel to me like a normal teaching thing, and, which is fine. You know, I had some ideas of what it would be like, but I tried to be very deliberate about letting you make your own decisions.
Thank you.
And, sorry, what were you going to say?
Nothing else, yeah.
Because I was also curious about what would come out of that.
Mm-hmm.
If I just let you do what you want to do instinctively, what will happen? And so really nice. All right, well, I'm delighted to have been on this journey with you, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. I hope you're pleased with yourself. I think you deserve to be. And thanks to everybody that joined us on the journey, and we'll see you on the next one.